Mr. Chester, you testified in how many courts?
I prefer Dr. Chester, but yes, the answer to your question is 85.
Oh, Dr. Chester.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Of course.
Does 85 sound about right?
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, how many of those 85 times were the state?
All.
Oh, all of them. So when Mrs. Weiss says, as she did to me, your witness, what she really means is her witness.
Well, the state called me, so I'm a state witness.
Yeah, yeah. How many of those 85 times did the state pay you for your testimony?
All.
And how many times did your findings differ from the state's?
Ms. Kapoor.
Yeah.
As a witness to this court, or whoever's witness, my findings are based on forensic and medical evidence. And I'm as sure as anyone that this woman was not killed, was murdered with this knife. Okay?
Because that's the only knife that could have possibly caused these wounds.
Of course not. Because it's the only knife with both her and the victim and the defendant's blood on it.
Did you hear Mrs. Weiss ask you the total number of wounds?
No.
Me either. I wonder why that is.
Well, we can see them.
Oh, we can. Sure we can. And they're really hard to look at, but how many are there?
Individual ones?
Yes, sir.
22.
22 stab wounds. It's a lot. What does that tell you?
It tells me she was stabbed 22 times.
That's it?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Oh, you do, though. So, I mean, such a great number of wounds indicates something, doesn't it?
Some would say it indicates a crime of passion.
Oh. That it was personal, that the killer had something against the victim.
Some would say, but not me. I've seen it both ways. And because something indicates, as you say,
Yes.
doesn't mean it's a fact.
I'm sorry. I was just getting my notepad. We're not finished yet. Have you ever made a mistake and sent a man to prison?
No.
Let me repeat that. I don't think you understood the question. Have you ever made a mistake that contributed to an innocent man being sent to prison?
Contributed?
Yeah. Like 22 stab wounds contributed to Andrea's death. Contributed.
No.
No? Arthur Metz didn't go to prison because of your testimony at his trial? Oh. Oh, you don't remember Arthur Metz.
No, I do.
So, you remember Dr. Metz was later exonerated based on a re-examination of your findings.
My findings were disputed, not disproven.
So, I didn't say disputed or disproven. But whatever we want to call it, Mr. Metz is now a free man.
Unless he's back in prison for some other crime.
He's not back in prison for some other crime, and he wasn't in prison for some other crime before you disputed or disproven the testimony put in there.
It wasn't a mistake, okay?
The appellate court disagreed.
It had a different interpretation, that's all.
But that's all we're talking about here. A different interpretation to avoid you having to come back like you had to with Mr. Metz. No further questions.